Okay, so before we actually do any type of social engineering pen testing, the first process that we need to go through is reconnaissance. And I need to really stipulate this very heavily to you. You need to get authorization. That authorization needs to come from management. It probably needs to be looked over by legal as well. So during this process, we'll be gathering a lot of information. And this information, again, needs to be gathered prior to the actual pen test. So part of gathering the information would be that you need to know the purpose for which you're conducting the test and what extent you can test it. So we need to understand what scope is allowed. We'll also need to go through and gather as much information as we can in the definition of that scope. Things like, are we allowed to try to pull lists of departments, employees, the level of physical intrusion that's allowed. We'll want to make sure that we're allowed to obtain a list of emails and contacts of our victims. The organization may be in contact with thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of customers. And are those emails a prime target, or can we use them? Not only the customer base, but what about the list of employees? Information like their email address or, again, their contact details. You'll also want to go back and check your information that you received or that you gathered during the footprinting stage or the reconnaissance stage. Some of that information can actually fill in this information before you attempt the process. We then need to make sure that we create a scenario. And it's very similar to like creating a story. And that's all going to be determined on the sophistication of the attack you're trying to attempt. You then need to make sure that you're able to go through and create some specific pretexts. Now, pretexting is just the practice of presenting yourself as someone that you're not in order to get the private information that you're seeking. It's not just a lie, it's actually creating a whole new identity. So to kind of give you an example of pretext, I've got a favorite sitcom that I love watching. It's called Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's a comedy about police officers. And every time the main character decides to go undercover, he and his partner are always coming up with what their cover story will be. So, for example, he says, as he's trying to be a longshoreman undercover on the docks, "My name's going to be Tom Tucker, a gruff, spitting, punch-you-in-the-gut sailor man who's looking to take a little break on dry land, but only until my girlfriend, Cangelina, gets out of lady jail." But the concept here is that if you come up with these pretexts, it actually makes you sound more legit as far as what you're trying to do. The other thing, too, when you're doing social engineering, again, whether it's electronic or physical, is use props. If you say you're from the IT department, dress up from the IT department. What would you carry if you're from the local cable company? A tool bag, maybe with some tools in it. And the same thing goes with the electronic version of this. Company logos, links to the company website. The other issue here is make sure that it's realistic as far as your scenario is concerned. Saying things like, "My name is Bruce Wayne," although it's a cool name in my book, might actually end up blowing your cover story. Same thing with, "Hi, my name is Fred Johnson. I'm with the Secret Service and I'm from the White House. I'm here to inspect your network for the President of the United States." Really? And with every type of scenario, you got to make sure that you have a good exit strategy. I saw this video online that was done by a company that does pen testing, and it was very intelligent how they were doing their social engineering. Their exit strategy, they showed up as internet service provider technicians, and they were there to give them faster speeds. And while they were waiting to get someone up front to escort them back, they were actually trying to get past the receptionist. They felt that it was starting to go south on them as far as being discovered. And so the exit strategy was the pen tester picked up his cell phone, pretended to call in to his office, having a conversation with a receptionist at his office, and said, "You know what, let's just reschedule this for another time. We've got to get to our next appointment." Brilliant. And I know, you guys are still stuck on Von Tom Tucker being a longshoreman, aren't you?